by 2030. 7 years from now, there will be a big push to move more and more land into government-owned and restricted use areas. So we have talked about how surveillance is not only cameras, but many other ways to monitor and report our activities. Your home, your trash, and your property will be inventoried and monitored. Your freedom of movement can be monitored, and your right to assemble can be restricted, all without your vote. With all of the changes come higher taxes, fees, and fines. If you don't cooperate, then you are fined or incur fees. Again, all without your vote. And last, how can the government acquire use of your land while you still own it? The government will inventory your land and legally remove your rights as a property owner. That's it.
Thank you.
Let me jump right to this next piece. And yeah.
No, go right ahead.
Oh, okay. So, this is our answer. You got it. Okay. So there's been a lot of talk of collecting signatures and presenting them to the city council. This could be done two ways. One is to create an unofficial, one is to create an unofficial petition without any teeth. Expend a lot of effort and time. I call these feel-good signatures. The city council can simply say, okay, and do nothing. They can say, I don't care. The second way is to follow the existing petition process to place a referendum before the city council for a vote. If the referendum does not pass, it will then go to the ballot for the people to vote. So this is the calculation of how many signatures. So you can see our idea is that we've got this problem, and the way we're going to resolve it is to put a petition, put a referendum on the ballot, and this is the process of how to do it. Because the city council has already made their decision, and we have to force their hand. So let's see, we need to start with the total number of votes for mayor in the last election. That's 28,000, roughly 28,415 votes for mayor. And then the required number of signatures is 25% of that number. So that came out to 7,104 signatures. And then to ensure we have enough qualified signatures, I'm adding an additional 25% as a buffer. So that's 1,776 additional signatures for a total of 8,880 signatures. Now, the very important thing, I spoke with the Hamilton County Election Commission, and he stressed that they can't have anybody from Red Bank, East Ridge, they live in Hamilton County, they have to be a registered Chattanooga voter. That's it. These are the high-level steps to place a referendum on the November 2024 ballot. By collecting pledges of support. So first, collect the pledges of support to sign petitions. And then by doing that, we're going to be building our list of supporters that we can count on to sign the petition. The Hamilton County Election Commission has 30 days to review our petition and provide, so we're going to prepare the petition and submit it to the election committee, and then they have 30 days to review it, to give it back to us for revisions. We have 15 days to correct those, and then it goes back to them for an additional 15 days. And if everything's okay, then we have only 75 days to collect 8,880 signatures. So that is the purpose of what we're trying to do by using the pledges. We're like front loading this. If we get a list of 8,000 people that have signed the pledge, now then we end up with, we could have pledge parties, signing parties, where we announce the event, and then everybody that signed up for the pledge, we've got their contact info, they come, they sign, and then from day one, we know we've got a lot of people already that have committed. And ideally, we hit 9,000, we have 6 months. He said usually it takes about 8 months for the whole process to run. So that puts us like in March. So if we get everything built up then, and it's not just one petition, we could have multiple petitions as well. After meeting our signature goal, We would then submit the petitions to the Election Commission. The Election Commission will verify we have met the requirements and present the referendum to the City Council for a vote. And part of our process here is 75 days and we verify. We can pay $40, $42 and get a list of all the Chattanooga voters. We can make sure everybody that we have as a pledge is on that list. And then we can weed out all the people that aren't qualified before we even start the event. If the City Council votes yes to approve the referendum, it will become an ordinance and no ballot initiative is needed. If the City Council vote is no, the referendum will then go to the ballot for the people to vote. And our target is the November 2024 ballot, not the March. He already said, Scott said it's too early for March. August would be a squeeze. So if we target November, that gives us a lot of time to build up the needed people. So part of the what we really need is specific help in some of the areas at this time. The petition attorney, somebody that is versed in that. There was a petition in the past that they didn't have an attorney and things fell apart. So Scott, with the Election Commission, he really advised we get an attorney to help us. And if we can find somebody, that would be great just to do it pro bono, where we're not having to pay for the fee. And then campaign finance experience. You notice we don't have any donation cups out because if we have to form a PAC to do this, then we have to start reporting our finances. We have to report all the money coming in, who gave it to us, and then we have to report how it's spent. So we aren't taking donations at this point. We need somebody that's got some good experience about campaign finance. And then the web design and maintenance, somebody that can help Evelyn, because this is a huge task, maintaining the website and then everything coming in and all the different, she's on Instagram, I don't know, all the different sites. And then a graphic artist, which would help a lot on the marketing. Because when you go to the printer, if you don't have things quite right, you try to do it by yourself, then they want to charge additional fees and it gets very expensive. And then the signature gathering and verification, that's really coming later, but we're going to need a huge amount of help with that too. So on the website, Save Chattanooga is the volunteer form. And you go in and you can put down your name and then talk about what type of experience, the way that you want to help, the days are available, and your contact info. Next. And then there's the pledge. I went on there. I signed the pledge.
I saw.
There you go. So you point people to the website. They can go in, they can sign the pledge, and then they're agreeing to stay in the know where we could send them contact or meeting updates, events, let them know what's going on. That's it. So, thanks.
That was great. You know, the most important thing really, friends, I think, is that we need help and we need people to step in. We don't know what you can do. You know what you can do, how you can help. And, you know, that's what we need. People that are willing to donate their time and their efforts, really, right? Nobody else is going to do it. We're up against the big media. We're up against, they're not going to give us any play, right? So each of us have to become informed on this topic and be good spokesmen for it. Not scaring people away, not freaking them out, but just be very matter of fact and calm about this is what's coming. And each one has to teach one, right? As they used to say, right? If we all become good spokesmen, that's the way to go about it. How about questions? Rick, you want to do some questions?
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just curious, how long did it take for Oxford to become a zero carbon city? You said they are right now?
Yeah, I don't think they're zero carbon city now, but they've already implemented the circular connector.
Okay.
And the article about the zones, they've already got those in place. The fines are already in place. So they're working on their target, I believe, of the net zero.
Okay.
But,
They're fining people
Yes.
that drive into their area?
right, between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., if it's on an electric vehicle, 10 pounds per day, and it doubles in 2 years. So that's, yeah.
Actually, London just expanded their ultra-low emission zone area to incorporate something like 6 million people. So if you don't have a car, and they know what kind of car you drive because they got the license plate reader that's hooked up to the DMV knows what kind of car you have and what the emission is according to the manufacturer. So if you don't have one of those cars, then I think it's 12 pounds per day, which, I don't know, $15 or something. I don't know what the dollars now.
Yeah, the petition, the outcome that you're hoping for is to remove the cap? Is that what?
You know, I talked to Scott about that, and he was very helpful. We spoke for like half an hour, and just to put a petition to say to stop the cap is way too vague. And, you know, some of the things that we've talked about is you could have a petition, and actually, you know, the cameras are not part of the cap, but we could have a petition that says remove all cameras, and it's a vote by us. So that could be one, to remove the cameras. Another could be stop collecting data on the citizens in all the different ways that they do. So we have to be very specific on our petition, you know, to where it's a yes or no, and that really hasn't been defined at this point.
How are they selling this to the general population? How are they convincing them? No, there are some people, they must be saying, we need these cameras because
Well,
we need these.
I talked with my brother. He said that it makes him feel safer,
Is
that these
that's
cameras
what
are
they
watching.
So if they give up their freedom for safety, they
That's
deserve neither,
that's what.
you know?
Yeah, I think at this point, a lot of the people that are pro are businesses, because I think they've stepped in and are incentivizing businesses to embrace this, right? You know, hey, sign up for the green thing, we'll get you $10,000 grant or something like that. I don't know that for sure, but that wouldn't surprise me. That's what's happening.
So they're bribing them.
You know,
Well, another one of the reasons that the way they're selling is they're saying it's not costing you anything.
right.
And it's for your safety. It's all with Build Back Better, federal funding. Well, where's that federal funding? We're all paying federal taxes, right? So it's if you look at that cap plan, it is not until page 62 where they're talking about money. And they're saying it's not costing you anything because there's all this funding, you know, that federal funds that are available, so it's not going to cost you anything, so be happy and you know.
Okay, how does the World Economic Forum, we've all heard about this, how does it tie in to this?
Well,
How are you
yeah.
know?
How much time do you have?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know.
You know, if you go,
What you tell.
if you go to the SaveChattanooga website, there's, Evelyn has got a link after link after link to videos, and they're short videos that they very carefully lay this out. I mean, they, you know, you've seen their little 8-minute video where you will own nothing and you will be happy. That's, you know, that's basically what they're trying to implement here. You know, who was it, Huxley, that said, I believe you are bringing the world, he said, you know, he fears people embracing their own servitude, loving their servitude, right? Not being, you know, tortured into accepting it, but just loving it. And that's, they figured out a way to do that. And it's a difficult thing. Yes, ma'am.
Have you reached out to the pastor of Calvary Chapel at all? He is definitely open-minded. We've had, you know, Dennis Prager there, Eric Metaxas. Hi, Tammy. A lot of, you know, people that are against this.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, that's where we
They had a
go.
huge event last night.
Yes, so I mean,
We were
there's
there.
thousands of members. I think that would be a great,
Yeah.
Did you go last night?
I did not.
I was very disappointed with the speaker because she went right over the loss of property rights. All the conservation easements. She ended up saying that your smartphone was doing more surveilling than what the city's going to do, and that all these cities have now, growing cities, they all have Office of Sustainability, and that's the way it is. So I just felt that it was very disappointing. She had a big turnout. She spoke a lot. She got into a lot of detail, but the loss of her property rights, the easements, she put stuff up there, but she wouldn't even talk about it.
And we
Who was
did-
it? Yeah.
And we did reach out, actually, we did reach out to them and ask them if we could table it.
Yeah.
But they distanced themselves. So that's their call. I
They
understand.
dissed you, is that what you said?
Well, they just didn't let us,
Yeah.
No,
Was
that's-
it?
That
they
was
didn't even
okay.
respond.
That was okay.
Well, I
That's
mean,
okay.
maybe some members of the church.
Oh, Mary,
spoke last
what was her name,
I
Mary?
can't remember her
Renee.
name. She's one of the pastors.
And listen, I thought in general,
Oh,
it
yeah, she the curly hair.
was, in general, it was very.
It was very informative,
I don't want to
but-
start up any adversarial relationship.
Yes.
We need all the friends that we
Right, yeah.
can get.
Maybe she doesn't know. Yeah.
Well,
It's
after
makes sense,
tonight,
but-
I want to meet with her
Yeah.
after tonight. I saw that, her last night, and then I think we want to try to meet with her and understand what it is that she doesn't see that we do.
I
And-
also want to say that this happened, if I could just step
Speak
in, Adam, the pastor used the movie Braveheart as an example. So there are 4 basic characters, one of them is the reluctant leader, another guy is the real warrior, somebody else, and then there's the crazy Irishman and he has said that kind of, well, they called us kooky because they claim that none of this is going to happen. And that we're seeing things that aren't there. But they're there. Rick laid it out very carefully. So we're a little worried about being tarred with that brush, right? Being called kooks, conspiracy theorists. We're not conspiracy theorists.
I want to mention on the World Economic Forum that about 4 years ago, they selected 36 cities in the world to be a smart city prototype. And only 2 in the U.S., that's San Jose and Chattanooga. So that is one connection to the WEF. And when you look on their website, you put in Chattanooga, we're all in it. So there is a definite connection, which is being denied by the mayor, that World Economic Forum isn't in this. But when you start reading on their website, you can see the same verbiage being used in the climate action plan. The reason it's called climate action is to be able to get federal money. Because if you don't use the word climate, but that's where they're trying to get a lot of the funding for this. And once there's going to be over 120 smart city intersections, and once those are all connected, it can be controlled by one person downtown. So if they're saying, oh, there's a pandemic section over here, they can shut down that side of the city in an instant, which will also shut down any businesses. So there's a lot of control that happens because of the controlling network of these cameras. And by the way, if anybody doesn't want their license plate read, I know no trick on that.
Before we go on, I just want to make a note that Mr. Paul Skates is here, and he wrote an excellent blog at American Thinker. It was published in American Thinker on the smart city. And Paul, that was a great job. I'd like to
Thank you for coming. And we've got the handouts there if anyone didn't get
We
one.
drove about 35 minutes to be here.
In the rain.
And in the rain.
In the
There's
rain.
copies of the
Yes.
article over on the table if you want to grab it.
Rick, do you want to?
I just had a
point out
question
the last question?
about what was just being said. Isn't that why the quantum computer thing is
Yes.
being built with the University of Tennessee? This is one of the first big quantum computers to handle all of that information and tracking,
Right.
right here at UT.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you tell me what was the timeline again? The for implementation?
2040 for the city and 2050 for us. For the residents. Yeah, for the total. So by 2040, they'll have the city, all the city-owned buildings, and by 2050, it will be everybody else. But there's nothing that's saying that they're going to wait until 2050. You know, like they've already signed that better climate, they're going to reduce by 50% by 2033. So they're speeding things up.
You know, the regional planning agency also, the RPA, is that the name of them? That they're holding meetings around at all the high schools about how they're gonna plan things, and they're really letting you know that it's under the guise of they're asking the citizens what they want, but if you listen carefully, they're letting you know what they're going to do.
Yes.
And it's all gonna tie in. Everything the county does is helping the city.
You know, interestingly, that last night, they were talking about everything was Chattanooga will. Did you notice that? Chattanooga will become a net zero. Chattanooga will. Chattanooga was like, whoa, what's this? Right? What do you mean will? You know, right? What do we have to
Pay
say?
very close attention to the word, the verbiage.
Yes.
Very
she did.
close.
Right.
Let me just point out that the plans are all on the website.
Yes.
The one Chattanooga plan, you know, the lipstick with the pig with another lipstick on, whatever you call it. Including the regional planning by zone. They've zoned it out already. So there is some big movements probably underway at this point for rezoning and getting people annexed into the city, you know, to enlarge that base. But all the plans are on the website, so you can
Now,
actually
a couple
read.
years ago, our commissioners voted that you can't annex anymore without the citizens voting on it, I thought. Isn't that right?
I don't know. We're not aware.
Because they were out annexing everything, and that was, you know, all for this.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. It might seem rather simple, but when you're talking about the city of Chattanooga, in which I live, my church is in East Ridge, so I'm here for a lot of the community, but at the same time, that's where I live. When you're talking about a Chattanooga city, or a 15-minute city there, does that branch out to the other surrounding cities that are around Chattanooga, or is this specifically like, say for instance, I lived in East Ridge and I needed to drive through Chattanooga, is this affecting Chattanooga itself or all the surrounding as well?
That's an excellent question. I think it would depend on the circular corridor. The goal is to get everybody into the cities. That is the goal. You know, get everybody out of the country into the cities where you can be, you know, kept an eye on much easier. I don't want to be alarmist, but
And all this sounds really good. The whole concept of a smart city is really nice. I mean, before I retired, I wanted to move to a place where I didn't need a car, I could walk, and I could do everything. But now I'm realizing that it's so much control if I'm in one spot and then they can monitor everything I do and track all my movements. I don't want to live like that anymore. And it sounds good, but you have to sort of peel back the curtain and see behind it.
you know, Evan was saying about, if you look at it, see the Chattanooga plan is over here and it's over here. Okay? This was the first one that they issued. It came out and it didn't have all of the disclaimers on it. They took it to city council,
Right.
and city council got an earful from the citizens. And so they, whoa, wait a minute, we better back up here. And so they reissued it with a wonderful list of things saying that they weren't going to surveil, we're not going to take your rides, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. And then everything in it, they didn't change any of the verbiage in the document.
Right.
So of course, it's all they're going to do it. So this is, you know, disingenuous is a good word. Yes, sir. One minute, Paul. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Do you know of other groups similar to this around?
Yeah.
Or, I mean,
Yes.
this is a big task.
Well, it's huge.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, but I think a lot of, I gotta believe a lot of folks are gonna be interested to do something.
Listen, they had, last night
So
at
they-
that Calvary chat, they had how many people? I mean, they had
200
people.
at least.
That was a lot of people.
It's got to be a coalitions. I talked to somebody that worked on the 2010, and he said they had multiple coalitions working
Right.
together. So we've got to work with as many as we can. We try to stay nonpartisan. We aren't going to talk about politics. We have one mission, and it's just to stop this.
Yeah.
So we don't want to get sidetracked on any of these other things, and we just want to track everybody that can help us.
That's it.
So, yeah.
Not that there aren't other good missions.
Right.
Because there are. Yes, ma'am.
With all of your interpretation of this, how do you feel the county commissioners come into play?
I think that, the first step is meeting with the mayor of Chattanooga, because this is his plan, and talk to him. But then I think the county commissioners, they're very important as well, because the city's within the county. So I think that's a step that I want to meet with my county commissioner and talk to him a little bit about things as well. You know, I'm looking tonight to find if people feel that the way I'm looking at it even makes sense. You know, when I'm interpreting that they're going to do this, is that really, I mean, I'm taking it verbatim. And so am I on target, or am I like dreaming? So I don't know, do everybody, I mean, how many people think I'm dreaming?
Yeah.
So do most people, do they see it sort of the same way I do when, you know, the cap?
I can speak to that, and to what the lady was saying over there. 3 weeks ago, if you presented this to me, I think you're out of your mind, not in Chattanooga. And so this sounds almost like borderline hysteria, but these smart meters that they use, they've already implemented this in Colorado.
Yeah.
There were 11,000 people, their power was turned off for several hours because the powers that be decided, oh, that's too much electricity, we're going to shut it off for a while. This is not far-fetched, it's not.
They did it in California. My sister-in-law was out in the desert and like 120, and they turned off her air conditioner. She had to go sit in the car and turn her car on with the air conditioning to stay cool. You know, so.
I would like to also note that Mr. Lee Helton is here, and he's a commissioner, county commissioner, I believe, is that correct?
That's
So, thanks for showing up, Mr. Helton.
Thank you.
I didn't want to put Lee on the spot, but that's who I want to talk to. He's my guy.
Very good. Right. So, questions?
Yeah, so can I just say something real quick? As was mentioned, I take care of the website and communications, including Instagram and Facebook, which is still blowing my mind. But I get contact forms from all over the country, and I got a contact form today from a place called Defiance, Ohio. And they are going full hog into the smart city planning and all that. And she said, please give me some ideas on how we can get the ball rolling here to go against that. So we are not alone here in Chattanooga. We're really not alone. I mean, there are other places like in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They're way further ahead of us. All over Europe, Paris, France, Barcelona, Spain, London. I mean, what's going on there? I don't even want to go visit there. And I'm originally from Vienna, Austria, and it's going on there too, because I still have family there that are telling me what's going on. And when I started speaking about that a year ago, they said, oh, you are just making stuff up, don't even talk to us about it. And now they can't stop talking about it, because now it's starting to affect them. And we are not alone. I mean, there are people that are saying, this is not right. We didn't vote for this. Klaus Schwab does not own my body. And we have to stand up, and we just got to coordinate people. And I think that's where it's at.
I think all of us know different groups too. It could be small groups. I mean, it could be food groups, maybe farming groups, Western Price. I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head.
HOAs?
Anybody that you think has some sort of a mailing list then where this can be sent to, or without offending a lot of people, right? We don't want to offend anybody, but
Go on next door.
this has to go out.
Next door is a big app. It's a neighborhood app.
I did post it up next door in the East Brainerd area.
Okay.
I live on Morris Hill area. I did, and it started getting a lot of, you might as well move to Amish country.
No,
Okay.
we can't, you don't.
No, well, I've only been here a year and a half, so I'm not gonna move that quickly again. But it's like people are, you can kind of get the undertone of when somebody says, well, that's progress. That's just the way it's gonna happen. Well, it isn't.
Here's another thing that I've discovered. We don't need 51%. Okay, that's a fallacy.
Speak up, Mike.
What you need is a committed minority. Those are the only groups that have ever affected change throughout all of human history. It's a committed minority.
A noisy committee.
Allowed.
Right, that is willing to take a chance.
Mike, I'm glad you said that. Those of us of a certain age can remember when a very committed small group of people stopped the Vietnam War. The North Vietnamese admitted afterward they were defeated. The media said the Tet was, a crushing defeat for the U.S. No, it wasn't. It was a crushing defeat for the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese, and yet it came across. But that small group of people affected government policy.
That's right.
And what's going on now with this climate change thing, there's a small, very fanatical group of people who have
Correct.
convinced a much larger group of people that man-made climate change is real.
Correct.
And there's so much evidence out there, and it seems to me, I know that's a big elephant to bite, but it's fake. All of this is based on a lie.
That's right.
And it seems like at some level, we need to address that point, because once that becomes recognized, all the rest of this falls apart.
That's right. There's a statement in there, and she addressed it too, where it was like, we believe that climate change is inevitable, that this is really happening.
Undeniable.
This is undeniable, this is the stuff. And it's like, oh my God.
It's called summer and winter.
Please.
Weather.
Mike, it's this document.
Is it that one right there?
The first paragraph,
In the-
lays it all out. It's
Yeah.
totally, the
It's
whole
all-
premise, the whole
Right,
foundation.
the whole foundation, the whole thing is false. That's right.
Rick, one of the things that hasn't been brought up as much, even last night, was about electric vehicles. There's a real push